So today we have a 3-hour session. Definitely it's going to be an interactive and informative session for everyone here. And here, as we were talking, we know payment gateways. We know how Paytm is used. We know how GPay is used. And nowadays, I think after lockdown, paying online is becoming a trend, right? Nobody carries cash. I could definitely do. But yeah, it's always paying online, having records in your bank accounts. So at least we know the calculations. But when we are paying this, have you ever imagined how these things work? So let's try and understand how these things works today. So we have Mr. Tarun Telang. He's an expert. Has 18 years of experience in the architecture and implementation, and he's highly scalable for software solutions. He has worked with Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, and he has authored books on Java, Kubernetes, and cloud native development. So by knowing this, till now you know that, right? We have expert with us. Hello, Tarun. How are you?
Yes, hello, good morning. Good morning, Rekha. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for introducing me. Am I audible properly? Is my quality
Yes,
good?
Tarun, you are
Okay,
audible.
awesome. Nice. And I will also be just sharing my presentation. So hope my screen is also visible. We have got the topic headline here. Right, perfect. So we'll wait for a few minutes for more participants to join.
Yes.
And yes, it's still a few minutes left to the
So
present
meanwhile,
for the
other
session.
people are joining. Let's do one poll question to understand why people are here today. I know we are waiting. We are giving time people to join. We'll just start sharp at 10 or 10. People are still joining. So guys would like to understand why you are here. Okay. And interesting. The question is, what is your expectation from the masterclass? You came for just to listen an instructor, you want to enter the tech industry, or you want to learn about how payments gateway system works? Anything for me today is, yes, I know I use a lot of online payments. So I want to know how this payments structure works. Okay. That's it. Till the time we are waiting, let's do one thing. Tarun, we can go ahead and start the session. Thank you so much.
Sure, perfect. Okay. Awesome. Great. So good morning, all of you. And let's start the session. This is a very important session. This session is about system design of payment gateway. And as you guys know, and you have been introduced by Rekha a few minutes back, that payment gateways are very important. Nowadays, we also do online shopping. So payment gateway are critical components of any online shop or e-commerce system. And we will look into not just from the perspective of how the payment gateways are designed and implemented, we will also cover how to answer this question if it is asked in any interview in any of the tech companies. So I understand you guys are also preparing for getting into big tech companies. And this is a very important design question asked these days. For getting selected in any of the big tech companies, you need to have a very good understanding of system architecture. And we will look from the perspective of system architecture as well about how payment gateways are designed. Great. So are you all guys good to go? We'll have this session very interactive. Feel free to ask any question, and you can use chat to interact with me. And I'll be looking in the chat monitoring for any Q&A. No, you can post this in the Q&A section as well in this meeting. And if you put the message, if you have some discussion item, you can put it in the chat. If you want to ask some question and you feel others might also be having similar questions, then you can put in the Q&A, then more people can upvote it as well. And this will come up in the list and I'll be able to answer them quickly. And this will also help others also, other participants also, to discuss the same question. So use chat if you want to discuss something, or if you want me to explain something in more detail, or if you have any Q&A, then you can post the message in Q&A, but keep the conversation going. We will keep this session very interactive, because main objective of this session is you guys should learn good amount of concepts, most of the concepts which we will be covering, and you should not leave this session with doubts in your mind. Perfect. So this is a live session and it's not a recording, and we will not be doing any coding exercise here. We'll be looking into the high-level design and low-level design. So this session is about the system design or system architecture of payment gateway. So no prerequisite like you should know any programming languages is required. And we'll be covering concepts which are important for you as a software engineer to implement and design any of the payment gateway solution. So payment gateways are common, and there are many apps as well these days. For example, Paytm is the most popular app, and then there are GPay and PhonePe and many other apps which offer similar functionality. And these are revolutionizing the way we are using online transactions. Nowadays, you go to any shop, even small vendors, they have the QR code machine, and you can pay online using these payment systems. So we'll take an example of Paytm, and then we'll cover the session. Great. So let me begin this presentation. So first thing is, what should be your expectation? Let me clarify. What would be your expectation? So we'll go with a step-by-step approach for designing a payment gateway, right? So we'll assume that you are in an interview and you are asked a question, design Paytm, or design a Paytm-like application or any other payment gateway, which could be GPay. You may get a question like design GPay or design PhonePe or Paytm. We'll take example of Paytm, but yes, all these applications are very simple, very similar. And the concepts you learn with an example of Paytm can also be applicable in other similar questions. We'll be covering what is the approach you should demonstrate in tech interviews, technical interviews. So definitely you'll be getting a good advice on preparation of technical interviews. And definitely you will get a certificate at the end of the masterclass. So you have to attend this masterclass in its entire duration. Have patience, we'll have this long session, but yes, we'll be covering it at a comfortable pace, and we'll have interaction going on. So you'll not get bored. And there will be a lot of important concepts we'll be covering. And you have to pay attention to the topics, all the topics, because there is exciting prizes. And for the top 3 participants who performs well in the quiz. So there will be a quiz also based on the content of the content of this session. So you have to pay attention. And if you pay attention, you also become very confident in answering system design questions. And when you go to any tech interview, it's not just important that you should know the solution. Most important aspect is the approach. So that's why the focus is also on the approach. And here we are taking an example of Paytm system, but the same approach could be applied in other system design questions as well. So you should learn not only just the concepts which are used to solve this particular problem, but also you should learn and understand well the approach which I'm taking to design this particular application, because this approach is universal and can be applied to any solution. Right? So yes, there will be some discounts, offers you will get to know. And there is various bootcamp courses offered from Upgrade Knowledge Hut. So yes, all these details you will get to know. You can, if you want to learn more about the curriculum at Knowledge Hut, you can put a form, fill a form. You will be shared a link to the form. And then for any questions related to the course, you can fill up and give your contact details, and someone will contact you. So let me introduce myself. You got some understanding about my background. Rekha has introduced it well. So my task is now simpler. I have around 18 plus years of experience working in software industry. I've worked at various big tech companies, and I've built large scale systems. I have architected big solutions, including OneDrive and various other large e-commerce applications. I've worked in various roles as director reporting to CTO, senior architect, and have also managed people and have worked in multiple locations. I have worked in US, have worked in Canada, Germany, and of course, India. And I have authored several books. And one of my recent book is on cloud native software development, building applications using Java technology and deploying it to cloud using various container technologies like Kubernetes and Docker. And have been throughout hands-on technologist, have worked in various technologies, and here are some of the technologies. We'll not be covering all these technologies in this session, but yes, we will be covering most important part, which is how to design systems. But yes, any advices and quick queries I can take up on all these technical topics as well. But yes, that's less important. More important are the system design principles, how to build large scale applications which can scale to millions of users, hundreds of millions of users in this case, because as you know, payment gateway is used by now most of the population. So it's hundreds of millions of user is what the application is servicing. And then we will also learn about how to build high performing systems, because performance is very important. And you can know more about me. You can connect with me at LinkedIn and also follow me for any of the career guidance or any future help required. So that's about myself. And let's now come to the topic. which is we have to first understand what is the problem we are trying to solve in this class. So we will be covering an interview question, which is design a payment gateway, right? So you may get a question at interview. Assume you are applying in some big company, for example, Google or Facebook. There, these questions are very common question. You will have a round, which will be around a 1 hour round, where you will be asked a question like design Paytm, right? If you are asked in this question, what to do, how do you proceed? The interviewer will just ask this one-liner questions. This is how system design questions are asked in big tech companies. It could be any of the FANG or MANG company like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, or it could be Facebook. And then there are many startup companies which also follow the hiring principles, and their way of interviewing is also similar to FANG companies. And then there are many other companies which are as good as FANG companies. For example, you have PayPal, you have Walmart, and there are many other companies, Atlassian, and hundreds of such companies who are building large scale applications. And they also want to hire software engineers who have good understanding of cloud concepts and how to build high performing applications and how to take care of reliability, scalability, etc. Right? So any of the term, if you are facing any problem with, let me know. No, I can explain that. But yes, we'll be covering various jargons, and I will explain you in layman language, various concepts which we'll be covering. So when you get this question, what you are expected to do is you have to figure out what are the components which will be needed, what are the system components which will be used to solve this particular problem or build this solution, right? And you will also be explaining about how these components will be interacting with one another. This all is known as high level design, right? And when you go in depth into any of these components and get into the implementation detail, then this is called low level design, right? So these are the two important concepts. First thing is you should understand that what is being asked in the interview. Is it high level design which is asked, or is it the low level design? Right? If the interviewer is asking about the overall architecture of the system, then this is a high level design question. And if he is asking to get into the implementation detail of a particular component or a module, then this is a low level design question, right? Because definitely in an interview, you cannot implement and discuss the details of each and every module because of limitation of the time, right? So I believe every one of you now understand what is high level design. Just say yes in the chat. That will give me confidence, and I'll be able to proceed fast. Okay, great. I see Riyaghav, Venkat Rao, all are saying yes. And also, all of you do understand what's the problem. That problem is give system design of a payment gateway like Paytm. This is what we will be covering today, right? Awesome. So I see, yes, few of you have good understanding and you got what is high level design. Who are not getting what is high level design, or who want to understand more details about, still they are not fully clear about high level design and what is low level design and what's the difference between them. Just let me know. You can raise a question, or you can put in the message in the chat, or yeah, you can raise hand as well. If you want to ask any question, then no, I can take up few questions, but yes, I'll have a Q&A session at the end. But yes, if something is bothering you to, or if something is making you getting stuck in understanding concepts, you can feel free to raise your queries. Okay, perfect. So I assume now you guys have got good understanding of high-level design and low-level design and their differences. Let's begin into the design process, right? So yes, as I said, high-level design is the overall architecture, but what you have to give as a deliverable in high-level design is the component diagram. In low-level design, as I said, we discuss the implementation details of components, but yes, the deliverables in this is the database schema, the database design, what tables you will be using, what will be the primary key, what will be the foreign key, various database concepts you have to apply and model tables and their relationships. And you also have to provide details about what indexing will be used, etc. in the database for the system, and what kind of database would you be using. And you will also discuss class diagram, sequence diagram, flowcharts, and this will test your understanding of various data structures and algorithms as well. So low-level design questions are generally focused on concepts which are related to object-oriented concepts, database design, and they may also have some advanced topic like design patterns, and you should also know some of the best practices like best practices for coding, like solid principles, etc. Will not be covering all of them in detail because our focus is on the system architecture of payment gateways. But yes, no, this is a good point to know that these are the expectations from low-level design, and these are, the component diagram is the expectation from high-level design. And high-level design means you have to give what components will be needed and how they will be interacting with each other. So let's get into the problem. So we got this question that how the payment gateway work. And yeah, this is very important because you should have an understanding first. So the first step in an interview would be you have to ask any clarifying question, because payment gateway would be a very big thing. And you have to really ask and clarify if you have the right understanding of the problem, right? So you have to first understand. So I'll just give you a background for people who do not understand what is payment gateway. This is not something which is high level design. This is just for giving you the background, because you should understand what is payment gateway. So, so if you go to any online store or even a physical store, what you do is you purchase some items, you place an order, right? And when you place an order, so if you are in an online store, you'll have a shopping cart, and then in shopping cart, you will have the item selected, their price and the quantity. And then you will confirm the order. And once you confirm the order, you will get into the payment page. So this is, when you are paying, what is coming into picture is the payment gateway, right? So your order details are there in the shopping cart, and when you confirm the order, this is forwarded to the payment gateway. Now, payment gateway is an application. It could be third-party application. For example, there are many payment gateways. Now, Amazon Pay is there. Most of you would be ordering items in Amazon. Then, Amazon Pay is another payment gateway. And there are Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Phone Pay, various other players also into this domain. What they do is they securely and safely forward the transaction to payment processors. Payment processors, another party, which is, for example, MasterCard, Visa, RuPay, and American Express. You have UPI as well. So there are various kinds of payment methods which is supported by payment gateway. So payment gateway provides a lot of flexibility to users, and they can choose various payment methods. And The payment processor is the final party which will be processing the payment. And when the payment processor processes the payment, the money will be charged from customer bank account, right? And the money will be paid to merchant. And merchant may not get immediately paid because there may be some commission which will get deducted from the payment gateway. Payment gateway will charge some commission, and maybe the settlement will also happen on daily basis, because if a merchant has thousands of customers, then the merchant may choose that I want to get paid daily or on a weekly basis. And if there are some chargebacks or commissions which have to be paid, this will also be calculated. So payment gateways are also payment aggregators, because they will collect payments from lots of customers, and then on daily basis or weekly basis, as per preference of the merchant, they will be paying merchant, and the money will get credited to merchant's bank account as an aggregated sum of money. It will not be on individual basis, but definitely periodically the payment gateway will also reconcile the information to make sure that all the calculations are correct and the money is being paid correctly to the merchant. So this is what the functionality of a payment gateway. And this is also about what all parties are involved and what are various interactions on high level, what is actually a payment gateway. Right. So this is not a design, but it's kind of a data flow or process flow of payment gateway. But yes, this slide is very important. And whatever I just spoke about this diagram in last 5 minutes, just pay attention because this will be helpful in the quiz also. Right. So pay attention to this. And this was very important concept which I covered, how payment gateway work. And this is important thing you need to understand in order to proceed with the architecture of payment gateway. Great. Feel free to put any questions in the chat if you have. And yes, so as I said that you see this customer places an order. I'm just recapping quickly. Places an order, the order details is forwarded to the payment gateway. Payment gateway customer will provide his payment details, like what payment method he want to use and what money he wants to pay. Do he wants to pay in upfront, or he wants to use an EMI option? All these additional facilities will be provided by payment gateway. And then payment gateway securely transfers the money to the payment processor, and payment processor takes care of the transactions in the bank accounts, right? And once the transaction is confirmed by the bank account, it takes few seconds, few minutes. Gone are the days when it used to take days. Now, only if you are doing international transaction in some foreign currency, then it may take more time because of cross-border transactions, and there are more regulations into picture. But usually it will take few minutes and few seconds most of the time. But yeah, maybe in worst case, few hours if systems are down or there are any problems. But this is very unlikely situation. You get all these things done in few minutes. And then confirmation is given by the bank account to the payment processor, and the same confirmation is forwarded to payment gateway and then to the store. And if delivery of item has to be done, then that's done. And then customer also gets the confirmation. So notification is sent to customer finally that the payment has been done and your order is confirmed. Right. So charging will be there, right? So all the parties now they are taking care of this transaction. They are helping the stores to do more business. They are providing convenience to the customers. So yeah, payment processors and payment gateway will also be charging some amount, right? You should also understand there are regulations. Everything is controlled by RBI. So if you are paying by UPI do not charge anything, right? So There are digital wallets and there are other stuff as well, but mostly nowadays we are using UPI. UPI is also something which government it's an initiative from the government, and you don't pay any charge when you do any UPI transaction. So you should understand that as well. But yes, all these things are less important because we don't have to worry about too much into the business side. What we have to worry about is the technical aspects of payment gateway. So I hope now you understand where payment gateway plays an important part. So it's a service, it facilitates online payment, and it takes care of making the payments securely, because if customers and merchants are not feeling safe, the transaction they will not take from payment gateway. So payment gateway, security is one of the most important thing. Other important thing is the performance. That payment should happen fast enough so that people use it frequently and money gets credited and debited quickly. So that's another important requirement. And also, it should be easy to use. Earlier, you guys would have also learned, that earlier there were net banking, which was the only way to do online transaction, but was not used by many people because there was limitation. It was not available 24/7, or sometimes, there was some times where you cannot use net banking and you have to enter too many details. Like you have to remember bank account number, you have to remember the IFSC code, you have to give the bank details, etc. So this was very inconvenient earlier and was used by few thousands of users. Not everyone was using it. But now with UPI and new initiatives online, like online payment gateways, it's being used by millions and billions of people. And you don't have to remember any bank account detail. Just by using the mobile number, you can transfer money to your friend, to your relative, or to any shop, which could be a physical shop or online shop. So user experience is also the third most important thing which has to be taken care in payment gateway. So now recapping, these are the key functions. It processes the payment. Payment, when you enter your credit card details, it keeps it securely. It has to also validate that the information you have entered is right. And then it has to also share you confirmation once no payment has moved from one state to another. So for example, initially you will have the payment initiation message, then your payment will be processed and the payment confirmation will come. So you will get good updates about what is happening with the payment, whether it's initiated, is in process, or is completed. You will get complete detail. And in case of any failures in the payment because of any reason, then you will get to know about the failures. So let's talk about the Paytm. Paytm, as you would know, has following key features, important features, which is money transfer. You can transfer money. It also supports UPI. You can transfer money using UPI, and you can enter the details of the person to whom you want to send the money and make payment. So recipient details, again, you don't need to add the bank account number of another person. You just need to know the mobile number or Aadhaar number of someone, and you can make a payment to that particular person. And sometimes even now you don't have to even enter any mobile number. You can use the QR code, right? So for payments, to your friend, you can use their mobile number, and a QR code facility is there. And nowadays, all the application, which is GPay or PhonePe or Paytm, all can work with the same QR code as well. So that's another initiative. Right. The coding part, now I see one question from Yogi. He's asking about, can we cover the coding part? We will not be coding. We'll be covering the system architecture in this class, which is about, we'll be covering in brief about the low-level design. We will be covering in more detail what are the system architecture concepts to be taken care as an architect, how you will design the systems, and what are the servers, what technology will be you will be using, and how can you support millions and billions of users, right? We'll be discussing some of the architectural patterns, and we'll be discussing what kind of database we'll be using, whether SQL, NoSQL database, but we'll not go into the implementation aspect, right? And we will be, because this is what is expected, because in Facebook or Google, if you are asked these questions, you don't have to code here. Coding, you have to do only in the coding round. So you should understand that, we'll not be designing here the mobile app, because when you say Paytm mobile app is just one part of the application. It's like a tip of an iceberg, but the bigger part is thousands of servers in the background which will process the payment, right? So we have to understand Paytm as a whole. We are not just covering it from the app perspective or front end perspective. We are looking into the services. We'll see what all architectural concepts we can apply, what all caching or what kind of databases we can use, what kind of message queuing we can use, how the notifications are sent, so that billions of users, millions of users can work with the app. So digital wallets, right, is another facility. You can put some money into your wallet, which you can use later. This is again a convenience feature. But yes, now even that is getting less popular, because UPI can do the money transfer instantly, right? Earlier, when there was some time required to process the payment, then wallets were more convenient, because that offers more convenience, and you don't have to enter your credit card details or debit card details, etc. But yes, with UPI now, other stuff is getting less popular. And yes, with Paytm, you can do bill payments, and you can do shopping, you can do flight booking, etc. A lot of other facilities there. You can buy, say, digital gold, or you can do some trading stocks, or you can buy mutual funds, you can take loan, etc. A lot of financial services are there, but we'll be focusing not on other aspects, because they are similar to e-commerce application. So there, the design principle of e-commerce application will be applied, but we'll be taking a look into the payment processing use case of the payment gateway application like Paytm. Great. So this was all background information. You have to share to the interview that you understand Paytm and you know these are the features. If you have any clarification, you can ask to the interviewer that these are the use cases. Did I miss any important use case? Or you want me to focus on money transfer, for example, here, which is money between customer and merchant, or money between users, you and your friend, you or someone you are trying to pay money to. Right. So that's why I have underlined this, that we will be covering in detail the money transfer part. Great. So pay attention to the use case, which is about money transfer, and interviewer will say, yes, he wants you to focus on money transfer, because if he would have to focus you on flight booking or online shopping, he would have asked design Book My Show, or design Amazon e-commerce application, or design some flight booking application like Make My Trip, etc. But yes, here when we say Paytm, although it covers a lot of features, but yes, the focus will be on the payment processing part. So this is about, just the background. So now you have clarified with the interviewer that what is the exact question being asked. Next clarification you have to do is, do you want to know the details of implementation, like low level design, or I should give high level design? So when you say this is about low level design, no, the following qualities are being evaluated. In a low level design interview, the coding aspect will be tested. So here the interviewer will ask, can you code some algorithm for encrypting the data? How will you encrypt credit card information and store it in the database? That could be a low level design question, because this is something which you can code. He can't say that code the entire Paytm app, build the mobile app, code the mobile app, or build the web services which will be used for making the payments. These things cannot be done in 1 hour interview. And to answer no, within the interview time frame, you will be asked some module specific question. So check with the interviewer if he is interested in low level design or high level design. You will also get to know about that while scheduling the interview. The recruiter or the hiring team will share you that this is a high level design interview. Here you have to focus on the system architecture. If it is a low level design interview, then they will say you will be tested about maintainability of the code, reusability of the code, all these aspects. And they will be worrying about no object-oriented principles, solid principles, and other design concepts like design patterns. Know whether you will be using singleton classes, whether you will be using factory pattern, and all these things. But yes, if they say that you are required to do high level design, then you have to focus on the components and their interaction, right? So yes, you already know now in depth that what is low level design, what's high level design, what's the differences. Now we have done the clarification. We understood the problem, and now interviewer also said that he want to focus on the money transfer. So let's detail out more about money transfer. So we have to give the functional requirement, because in any product, you have to do first the requirement gathering. So now let's do requirement gathering for money transfer use case. So yeah, you have to confirm with interviewer. So you want to do real-time payment processing, and that needs to be fast, and it has to be secure, because yeah, nowadays there are EMIs, or you can do other kind of payments where money is not deducted upfront. You can just put a mandate, all these things, SIP kind of stuff. So if he says he is interested in real-time payment processing, then this is your functional requirement, yeah, which is what we will be covering in this class. Now, then you have to just ask that, okay, is it interbank transfer you are interested, person to person, person to merchant, etc. So you can say, yeah, these are the different kinds of transactions which will be supported. And that definitely there are different payment methods which are supported, right? So these are important functional requirement for Paytm app. And then definitely you will need status notifications, because the person who is receiving the money, he should get a notification that the money has been received, and the person who is paying also should get a confirmation that the payment has been processed. And then another important facility is QR code. QR code is a convenient feature because for transferring money to any person or to merchant, what you have to do is you have to enter his mobile number, and then you have to enter the amount which you want to pay. But with QR code, you can, without typing anything, you can just scan the code through camera, because it's a two-dimensional code, QR code, which you get. And when you scan it through camera, automatically the mobile number and the payment details are entered for you, and you don't have to do any typing. You can just confirm the payment. You can just see what the payment is, what's the amount, and then you can confirm the payment, and payment will be deducted from your account. And then other important use case is for merchants. They would also like to see how many sales they have done in that particular period. And then it should also take care of fraud detection, right? Because a lot of people would be trying to use it in malicious manner also. So if someone is using someone else's account, if someone has hacked, how can that be detected? So you have to share that these are various requirements you think that could be there in a payment gateway. So you can clarify, because now you have to design the system from these functional aspects, right? Now, since you are not doing coding, now most important thing is the non-functional requirement, because here for architect, it is very important that he understand non-functional requirements also very well. Now pay attention to this, because this is most crucial thing, because you may design an app or you may design a web application which can work in a proper manner. But when millions of users are using the app, the system will go slow, or it may not be available worldwide, or it may have some failures. Like if some system crashes, then your application becomes unavailable. How to design a system which can keep running 24/7 reliably and with very good performance, and can scale and up and down to millions of users. This is what the skill which you will be evaluated upon. And this is how the interviewer will try to understand that can you build big systems like Google or Facebook, or any other big systems like OneDrive, Google Maps, or Apple Pay. So in big tech companies, you will be working in such large scale systems, which even could be Amazon e-commerce application, which is doing billions of transactions and is being used by millions of users concurrently. And yes, so these are the things you have to share, that these are the non-functional requirement. Make a note of all these non-functional requirement. First is the security. You have to prevent fraud. You have to take care of data breaches, because you will be sharing your email, phone number. It should not be misused. You should know the payment gateway should not forward this to some no personal loan vendor, and then they start bugging you, asking for personal loan every afternoon, right? While you are working or busy in a meeting, you get a call like, okay, do you want personal loan? That should not happen. That is data breach. Privacy is important. You also enter your address. So then that address should not be shared to anyone else. It should be kept securely. And it should also implement various industry standards and regulations, right? So industry standards are there to ensure that there is good amount of security, because if your credit card gets misused, then there could be a lot of money which you may lose, right? Or if your bank account or your Paytm account gets breached, then there could be significant loss to your bank balance can happen. So that's very important. Then other stuff is performance, very important, because there will be many transactions which will be happening concurrently, and all these transactions should get processed quickly. It should not happen that since there were multiple transactions, multiple people were booking some flight or taking some item, buying some item, some of the transactions just got ignored, because when these transactions were requested, the system was processing some other transaction and just it ignored it. So it should be able to take care of the load, and it should be able to process all of these transactions, and should also perform it fast, right? Should not happen that if there are many users, then the system is very slow and the transactions taking many hours to process. So scalability is important because if large number of users are accessing any particular application, the application should not crash. And there should be no impact on the performance or reliability of the application. Right? So reliability means that there is minimum downtime and the system is very highly available and you are able to handle unexpected failures, right? Sometimes unexpected failures can happen and you have to also recover from these failures quickly, right? So can someone give example of unexpected failure, right? Unexpected failure could be, say the Paytm is trying to process some request. Okay, natural calamity, it's a disaster, right? So then if natural calamity happen, yes, I see Hema Chandran, he has posted that natural calamity is unexpected failure. Agreed. But yes, it's very no big example because if say earthquake happens or some flood happen, then the data center is completely down in the water or is destroyed, then definitely that particular yeah, this will be unexpected failure because yeah, you can't do anything. It's a disaster. So that's a good example. But yes, other examples, yeah, server files got corrupted. Yeah, hard disk crashed, files got corrupted, and balance. Okay, this is something expected because you can program to deal with such error. So if sufficient balance is not there, you should not process and confirm the transaction. You should stop and deny the transaction. So this could be an expected failure. Insufficient balance is all business logic. This has to be pre-programmed, right? So it's an expected failure. But yes, if bank website is down, that could be an unexpected failure because, or if they are giving some unexpected error, and then this is unexpected error, right? So you should be able to recover from these kind of situations quickly. I'll also share you what are the approaches which we can take in such cases. And also I'll share what to do if you have to make your application such that it is also able to recover from natural calamities like earthquake, flood, etc. Right? Because it should not happen, say, if you have data centers in Mumbai and in Delhi or in some south region, if some flood happens, it should not happen that your entire business goes down because of it. Then you will lose millions and billions of money. And if suppose you are just hosting your application in one location, and if flood happens in that particular location, then you lose all your data, right? So then you may become totally out of business also because of some natural calamity. That should not happen. So you should design an application such that it should be able to deal with all these natural calamity. This is called disaster recovery, right? Yes, right. Perfect. You guys have given good examples and multiple examples that yes, if some application or bank website is under maintenance, it's restarting, that could be some unexpected error. Usability is also important because users should be able to easily navigate between the application. So these are non-functional requirements and these are listed in order of the priority which I have given, right? Now you see here, usability can be taken care just by designing a good UI, and definitely performance, if it is good, then usability will be good because user will see fast response. Great, great. Yeah, there are various examples. You can press, see the, yeah, there are various ways to cover, to prevent application from disasters I'll be covering when we'll be diving deep. But yes, first thing which you should understand is non-functional requirement. And if you can give all these non-functional requirement, that means you have very thorough experience in design of applications, right? So a good architect will be able to cover these non-functional requirement, because these are things which are invisible, which comes from experience. Functional requirements, which we covered in the previous slide, that anyone can see, that anyone can play around, and most of the people are aware of functional requirement. And if they are aware of functional requirement, they will also know the logic. They will also be able to code if they know programming language. So that's not a big deal. But if you are an architect, you will only be able to identify these non-functional requirements if you have very thorough experience in software development and you have worked in large scale applications, right? Then you will appreciate that why these things are important, because when you have seen application, if you have uh, built such application, then you will face these challenges. And if your application has many customers, millions of customers, then definitely you'll be facing all these challenges, and you will learn how to deal with this. So in top tech companies, this is the most important thing, because Google search, if you are working in Google and you are working in Google search project, then you have to keep it running, irrespective of whether there is some war in some location in the world, or whether there is flood, earthquake, or cyclone in some places. No, your application should keep performing the way it used to perform in normal situation. It should be able to scale up to millions and billions of users, and should be very responsive also. It should be performing well, so that users use it and they get the output very fast, and there is no security breaches also in the application. So this is about non-functional requirement. Let's move on to next topics, which is about what components we'll be using, right? Now, definitely you'll have a mobile app, user interface. You'll need authorization and authentication, because when you register to Paytm, you first have to put your mobile number, you have to create a user account, and when you put your mobile number, the app will detect the SIM. It will do the device verification by sending an OTP, and then when you are making a payment, you have to enter the payment details, which is credit card number, expiry date, CVV, all these details. These are very sensitive information. So your app should be able to authenticate you. Yes, well, because yes, you would have kept some password also. And in addition to password, they use two-factor authentication. App also use biometric authentication, like face recognition or your fingerprint. So all these features, which are security features related to authentication and authorization, needs to be there. And only you should be authorized to withdraw money from your bank account, right? So these are authentication, authorization features. And nowadays, even they check for your device. So device verification and device fingerprinting is also important, because if you are making transactions from multiple devices, what does it mean, right? If you're making transactions from multiple devices, that means maybe someone has compromised your account, right? And usually people will make transactions from one mobile device, right? And so the Paytm application should track how many devices you are using. Maybe you have 2 phones, 3 phones, maybe one laptop, tablet as well. So 4 or 5 devices are max fine. But what if there are tens and multiple devices which are being used for that transaction, then definitely the payment system should alert you that there could be some fraud, and they should send some notification to you saying that please verify your devices which you are using. Or if this is not verified by you, then that device will be blocked, right? So these applications also keep track of all the hackers' devices, all the malicious devices which has been used in the past for some fraud, and they block them, blacklist them. So these are important steps of fraud detection. So the mobile app will take care of all these security measures. Then it should send the information to payment processor. It should integrate with various other components as well. Like it should do digital wallet integration. It should integrate with the merchant website. Say, for example, if some website is there, say Amazon, your app should be able to integrate with it so that your app could be used to make payments, right? Your not exactly the mobile app, your payment gateways backend integration should be there with multiple merchant applications, right? It could be Amazon, Flipkart, or various other online stores or online services. Zomato, Swiggy, they also need to kind of take payment, and they will be using payment gateway. So your application should be able to integrate with multiple such websites or apps. And they should be able to integrate securely. So security is very important. How do you achieve security? First thing which is very important is whatever the information is being entered. For example, password is very important thing. So it should be encrypted, right? And if it's stored somewhere, it should be stored in an encrypted way, because a hacker may hack the database. Say if a hacker hacks the database of Paytm, he can get access to the password of everyone if the password is not stored encrypted. So all the applications, most of the applications do encryption of the password, whatever is being stored. Any sensitive information which is stored, it should be encrypted and then stored. Now coming to the SSL encryption. When the data is in transit, then also the encryption should be there, because when the data is getting transferred from a client app to the server app, the data will be passing through many servers, which could be routers, gateways. If a hacker has hacked some of the router, then he'll get to see your data. So that should not happen. So your SSL encryption should be there, or what we also use, the term here is HTTPS. We should use HTTPS, which is a secure connection, and the data in transit should also be encrypted. Correct? Now, yeah, this is another good question I see from Raghav, that if hacker gets access to encryption key, then definitely he'll be able to decrypt the data, right? So the best practice is you choose a encryption key which is not easy to guess, right? And you should keep changing the encryption key. Correct. So these are various ways, and also know how to secure encryption key is also a security process. There are asymmetric keys. There are various techniques which are used to secure encryption key. That is a big security topic. But yes, you should understand that there are few best practices, which is called encryption key rotation. You can keep changing your encryption key. This way, you can ensure that if someone loses, the damage is minimized. So yeah, these are the features, and then you should get reports and analytics as well. So these were all components and components of the Paytm application. These are all functional components. You may think that yes, just creating some modules for this will be sufficient, but it's not that easy. What type of system component should we use, where we should be having performance bottleneck? That identification is important, and that is possible if you are applying good architectural principles. And now in few minutes, I'll be coming to that, which is the most important part, is what are the architectural concepts we'll be applying, and how we can kind of ensure that the system will be able to take care of all the non-functional requirement. Because make a note of all the non-functional requirement we covered, and you should be able to understand that how we have designed our architecture to take care of each of them. Now, yeah, these things we covered. We enter payment details, we enter credit card information, we have to encrypt. Yeah, just authentication and authorization. We also covered that we need to create an account with the mobile number and password. Password should be encrypted. Encryption key you have to secure. OTP verification should also be there, because now even if your password get compromised, you are still safe, because for login, you have to verify the OTP, right? So if your friend or anyone, hacker, has guessed your password or he has somehow got access to your password, still you are safe. You don't lose money, because we use multi-factor authentication, which is through OTP, right? And then you have other additional features to, because maybe someone has stolen your mobile and you have already logged in to your Paytm app. Still you are safe, because if you have enabled face recognition or fingerprinting, right? So these are additional layer of security, so that if temporarily someone takes your mobile or someone steals your mobile, your bank account or your money is safe, right? And then device verification is very important, because maybe someone takes your password and username, he can try to log in into account. But since Paytm tracks what are the devices you use, the person will get a notification that a new login has been detected from this location using this device. Is this you? And when you confirm, then only you will be allowed, or you may block such device also. So these are various concepts. Now let's look into some of the low level design aspects, because now we have a good understanding of functional requirements. If you understand what functionality you have to do, you can do low level design, right? So let's give a try on doing some aspects of low level design. How to do database design. So first thing is, you have to understand what are the design considerations, right? Now, some of the design considerations are important for low level design also, because if application is reliable, scalable, highly available, so yeah, you would be definitely needing multiple data centers. You will have to replicate the data across multiple data centers. So this is now one answer to the problem you said. If you are maintaining the database in multiple locations, for example, not only just in Mumbai, you are keeping it in, say, in Delhi and in Chennai as well, and maybe in different locations across geographies also, right? Maybe you are storing it in US, you are storing it in Europe. Then if in one place some disaster happen, like cyclone or earthquake, then your data center or your data is still safe, because what is affected is one location. You have your data in multiple locations. You can switch from other databases and get the information from there, and your business is safe, your application is safe. That's how big applications like Google, Amazon, Facebook, even if there are disasters in the location where you have the data centers, there will be no problem with that. Right. So next thing is, you should have encryption, access control in the database. It's also very important that access to the database is given only to the people who requires the access and only to the features or modules which require that particular data. Because if you give access to too many people, they may misuse intentionally or unintentionally. Now, you will need various tables, right? So here you have to divide your database, all the information which you are storing into various tables. For user, you will be storing various details like ID, name, email, mobile number, password, etc. Right? You can index. You should all understand what is database index, right? Database index is kind of your index of your book, using which you can get to any data very quickly, right? So it's a way of organizing data so that you can retrieve it back very fast. Index is a feature of database and relational database in particular. So if the data is indexed by mobile number, you can get access very quickly because you'll be having queries, which will be based on users most of the time. For regulation reason, you may also want to store for a user KYC information. And in KYC information for any user, you will be having PAN, Aadhaar, or any one of them, and address details and expiry of the KYC, because KYC may be valid for 1 year, 2 years. They have a time frame based on government regulation. But yes, a user will have one KYC at a time, right? So you will have this one-to-one relationship, and whether it's expired or not, you can check from expiry date. So this is the database design which you will keep. A user will also have one wallet, because now it's not just important here to identify the tables. You also have to identify the relationship between the tables, which is the cardinality of the relationship. So here, if I'm saying user is related to wallet because user has wallet, and this wallet, digital wallet, you will have only one digital wallet, right? And digital wallet should also be indexed by user ID, because you have to optimize for performance, looking into the design considerations. Then you'll have merchant details also. Now, how do I am identifying all these items, right? These tables I'm identifying because now I know the functional requirement, and all the nouns which I have used in the functional requirements becomes classes or tables in your database design, right? So merchant was another entity. So I have to store merchant also, because this is very interesting for my application, and I'll use the bank account of the merchant also as one of the attribute, because if I am only allowing merchant to use one account for settlement, then I will use only one bank account, right? But yes, if you want to provide many bank accounts to merchant, then it's better to split the table into multiple tables. You have merchant table and then bank accounts table, and then you create a dependency between merchant and bank accounts by using foreign keys, right? So you can also specify what are the foreign keys. Sometimes they're very obvious. For example, user foreign key could be ID, or you can also use mobile number as your primary key. Sorry, not foreign key. This is ID is your primary key. Here in KYC table, user ID is the foreign key, right? Yeah, you may use, now you may be asking, can we keep mobile number as the primary key, right? Again, you have to think of, what if user changes the mobile number? Will you be asking him to create the account? If you want the facility to switching mobile number, then keep a separate ID, which could be primary number, and then you can update the mobile number also. But yeah, if you keep mobile number as primary key, then you have to provide another facility to change the mobile number. It will become difficult. So you have to think from extensibility perspective also, maintainability perspective also. Maybe today you are not offering this feature, but in future you want to offer this feature. So you have to think from future perspective as well, how you will be taking care of such features, and your design should be that your design should be such that in case of some changes or additions of features into your application, you should be able to do it with minimal effort, right? So for example, that's why I'm keeping here payment method as a table, because today I may have few payment methods, for example, credit card, debit card. Tomorrow, if I add more payment methods, then I should be able to just update the table, and my business logic, my UI can read from this table and show users different options, right? So I don't need to change my UI code. So here, if you can demonstrate such design characteristics, then interviewer will definitely get impressed that yes, you have taken care that your code in the UI should be less complex and you have a payment method. And if you just want to add a new payment method, what you need to do is just insert a new field in the database. Same code will show more drop downs or more options to use different payment methods. So these are the things which you have to take care in low level design or database design, right? Hope all of you understood the database design well. Don't have to go in too much of detail. Maybe there are few more fields you may want to store, but if you can demonstrate that you understand the concepts and you know what is good database design, interviewer will assume that yes, if you are doing this, if I give you more detail, you will also be able to design for that more additional detail as well. Right. So then, yeah, you may have bank accounts for users, and users nowadays always have multiple bank accounts, and they want to use multiple bank accounts because Paytm could be used for transferring money between your bank accounts, right? You may have different kinds of bank account. So that's why you will need a bank account table also for customers, and you can map it. You can have a user ID as a foreign key in the bank account. But yes, I have not shown all the fields here because my basic idea here was to give you just a glimpse of what is low level design all about. Similarly, you can do the class diagram also. In class diagram, you not only just have to identify the attributes, you also have to identify the methods of the class, right? Methods, because a class is collection of both the data and behavior associated with the data. And you can use inheritance also in the class diagram. And I understand, with some understanding of object-oriented programming language, you will be able to do it easily and will not be spending time, because we'll be spending time on taking care of various non-functional requirement. Security we took care of, right? We discussed by encryption, by two-factor authentication, all these things, security will be taken care. But now let's talk about challenging parts. How will you take care of performance and scalability? How will you take care of availability, right? Now, let's think about, because yeah, again, depending on what is the scale of the system, your design will vary. So the next important phase in your design is doing some mathematics, which is very important. If you don't do this, you may not, there are very high chances that you do not get good feedback in system design round. So pay special attention to this particular topic, because this is what will be differentiating you from other interviewees, right? So back of envelope calculation, I'll just introduce you what it is. And, we may have some other interesting videos, which is going to be played by Rekha again. So I'll just in 1-2 minutes summarize this, and then we'll see some interesting videos, and then I'll come back to the topic. And because this is a very important topic, I want all of you to pay special attention. So I want a little bit of a refreshment in between. But yes, let's just be ready for it, and I'll just give you a kind of glimpse of what we'll be covering, and then you can take care of it. So here you should understand that Paytm has 500 million users, and we have to take some assumptions also, because you don't have to know exact numbers, but yes, you can assume this, that there are 500 million users and each user is doing 10 transactions per month, right? On average. And then a transaction involves some database queries, and they are, say, for example, 5 base queries per transaction, because you'll need authentication. They may check account balance, and then the transaction will happen. That means money deducted from one bank account and money added to some other bank account. So there are multiple database queries which will be happening. And now from the database design, we can understand that there are few bytes. Now it's not very heavy data. Data is just some numbers, which is the amount. It will be bank account detail, etc. So these are the assumptions which we have about the application. Why I'm calling it assumption? Because they may not be exact, but they are giving us a rough idea about the scale of the application. Now, next thing is how we will use these assumptions and design our system to cater to these many users, deal with this much of data, etc. And what would be the size of database we will be requiring, what kind of databases, because you may use Oracle, Postgres, MongoDB, etc. What exactly we need to use and how we will design. Because just if I know Oracle, I can say I use Oracle because I'll be using Oracle because I know Oracle. That's not a good design. Or if I say I use Java because I know Java, again, this is, if you make such kind of statements, you will get negative feedback, because the design should come from some data, and you should be able to analyze whether this particular technology is capable of meeting that requirement, right? So because performance scalability, when I talked about, I don't give you the exact number that what performance I mean, what data volume I mean, right? But yes, with the exercise, I'll be showing how we can use some quantitative numbers and utilize it in the our design. And we can also convince the interviewer that whatever proposal we are making will be able to deal with this. So this will cover after some other content, because I'll take small pause in this particular topic, because Rekha have something interesting to share to you in the meantime. So I'm giving over to Rekha, right? But pay attention, keep thinking about these requirements. And once we'll get back again in few minutes, we'll be covering in depth about how to use these. Okay, take care.
Hi guys, hope session is going good. Just would like to understand from everyone how things are. I hope everybody is aware about this, that they're gonna get the certificate after attending the entire masterclass. Yes, no, maybe guys, you can see your screen. Okay, perfect. So the people who don't know, for them it is, yes, you're gonna get the certificate after attending the entire masterclass only. If you're living in between, definitely, I'm sorry about that, but a certificate won't be provided. Perfect. Apart from that, one more question we have. How this session is going, guys? I can see Hema is saying good. Venkat Rao is saying good. Nice. I hope it's an informative. You're able to understand the front end and back end as well. How you can, very important, right? If at all we know sometimes how things are supposed to be done, but we can't explain well in the interviews. If at all you're an expert in something, definitely we are not able to put it across in a right way. But I think Tarun has given us very good examples that how you can ensure that within that 1 hour or 30 minutes of interview round, how can you make sure that interviewer knows that, yes, this, you know, the designs, you know what we are talking about. Give me a minute, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Just a second. So I can see people are saying session is going excellent, good. Wow, superb. So in that note, let's understand now this session is only about payment gateways. This is one of the part of our curriculum, what we teach is on Upgrade platform. The program name is Advanced Full Stack Development, where we are teaching you guys about Java, basics of Java, Kubernetes, then again, DSA, system design. These all parts are covered. High level design, low level design is a part of system design. And Tarun is one of the trainer who is taking our batches too. So we have an expert with us, Gautam. Hi, Gautam. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Rika. Hi,
Hello.
Tarun. Can you hear me clearly? Loud and clear?
Yes. We can hear you clearly.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So
yeah.
guys, as I mentioned, we have expert with us. So he'll go ahead and explain about our program, what we have. Meanwhile, definitely, I'm just sharing the form in the chat box. People who are interested in knowing in detail about the program, because it's a masterclass, so we have a time limitations. So whoever wants to go in detail, want to know what we are delivering, how it will go ahead, please fill the form so we can ensure that our team member connect with you and explain you the details. Thank you. Over to you, Gautam.
Thanks, Rika. Hello, everyone. Oh, no, this is muted, is it? All right. So they can't speak to me. All right. So I'm really excited to speak to each one of you today. I would really like to know which cities have you joined from quickly. If you could just post, I would request everyone to just post the city from where you have joined. Pune, Chennai, Bangalore, Andhra Pradesh, New Delhi, Gorakhpur. Okay. Bangalore, think Hyderabad, think the South Indians are more in number. All right. Kannur, thank you so much. I'm really excited to speak, take you through our program, the advanced full stack development. Okay, Vizag. Nice. I'm from Vizag as well. So I would quickly run you through what our program entails and what we have for you today, right? So I'll quickly share my screen. Rekha, just let me know when you can see my screen. Just give me a sec.
Yes, Gautam, it's visible.
It's visible now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we actually have a program where you would be learning the front-end development and the back-end development. of the overall web development, right? So if I'll just give me a sec. Yeah. So quickly about full stack development. So all the participants today are looking forward either to change their domain or upskill themselves into full stack development, uh, or become a backend developer to a full stack developer, or a front end developer to a full stack developer, right? So here, if you look at what is full stack development, it covers the front end, which is the user interface. Whatever you see and touch and feel is the front end, and the back end is on the server side, where this server as HLD, LLD is being explained by Tarun, right? The same part would also come under backend, right? So, and we also, the full stack developers are actually highly skilled in the programming languages like Java, JavaScript, and also the frameworks and the tools, right? And they are in high demand. I would also see full stack developers as a recession free jobs, where they have ample amount of opportunities out in the market, right? So for that, what we have done is we have done all the research with our past experience of 8 years. So we have Upgrad turned 8 years few days back. So we have done all the research, gathered all the information required from the experts who are working in all the top product companies, all the top tech companies like Microsoft, Google, Netflix, etc. Right? So we've got the experience and the right team to set everything and bring into one boot camp, right? So the boot camp has comprehensive curriculum. So the comprehensive curriculum would actually cover SDLC, the software development lifecycle, the Java-based applications to LLD, HLD, which we are covering a bit in today's masterclass, and also mastering DSA. So DSA is the most important element for any of the interviews or to crack interviews, right? So the first round and the second round generally covers DSA, and the last round generally covers the behavioral to the right fitment. So we train you in all the aspects in our boot camp, and the boot camp is a 12-month boot camp. So we launch programs every quarter, right? So someone who needs someone who wants to brush up their basics, they can actually join, say, or join 2 months prior and go through the basics and get into the main program. So, and the rest of the things are taken care by us, including the career support as well. So what do you learn in that? The front end and the back end, where you would actually integrate between the front end and back end code, and also build the RESTful APIs, right? And you'll also learn the deployment strategies, not only building, but in the real world scenario, you also need to learn about the deployment and run it at scale, right? So that is something which we master it, because there are many companies which are actually offering the full stack development program or boot camps. But what we do and what we are experts in is we give you exposure to the real world problems and real world projects, through which you can just fit into any of the full stack developer roles, because full stack developer is also known to be a all-rounder in tech, right? So you could just get into the role and just start working. So that is what we've built over time, and now we've been coming out with successful outcomes, right? Which we'll talk in the further slides. So what is the teaching approach which we take, right? So we have blended sessions where you'll be talking to experts from top product and tech companies. And the best part about the platform where you would learn is about the project-based learning, right? So you would do projects at each and every module level, and also do a capstone project at the end. And the capstone project can actually be added to your CV. And all the companies generally look at what you have built. And if the capstone project is aligned to the domain also, say today we are talking about payments. And if this is aligned to what you have done, it's easier for you to talk, and there are talking points. So we have reports talking about your strengths, weakness, and also you'll be given feedback from the experts we have on board, right? And we have immersive learning platform, which I was talking about, which is Prism platform, which Rekha would actually show in the next or in next 5 to 10 minutes. So this is something which we have mastered over time, and you will get the complete support through Prism platform. And it is very immersive in terms of you can do the self-learning. You can you have cloud labs where you can code, test, execute, deploy as well. So we have everything in one platform without even stepping out of the Prism platform. You could do all your projects on one platform, and that is Prism, and you can code on Cloud Labs. So there is no other platform which you need to really download and deploy on your laptop, right? So here are our program, program instructors, program developers. So when we look at the program or the content developers, we have international publishers, international content creators who have been onboarded to build the content. So when I talk about international publishers, faculty, etc., these are the people who have worked with world-renowned techies, someone who has built Java, etc. Right? So they've been working with such renowned personalities across the tech industries, and we have brought them on board to build the content. So the content itself changes every 6 months. As you know, the tech industry is very dynamic, and it changes every 6 months to 1 year. And we keep updating the content so that you're confident about your job, confident about what you're learning, and ensure you are ready to take up a job or ready to upskill and apply in your present job as well. And we have instructors from Amazon, Coinbase, Adobe, we have from Google, right? So here are a few photos. Tarun is also there. So that's one aspect of it. And the next aspect is about the Golden Gate University collaboration. So all the learners who have completed the program successfully would also get a certificate from Golden Gate University. So what is there in for you, right? So the GGU is one of the oldest universities in the US, in San Francisco, right? So this is the tech hub where many legendary personalities, right from army to lawyers, everyone have graduated from this. And we have collaborated, Upgrad has collaborated with Golden Gate University, and after successful completion, again, you will get certificate from the university. So what is about it, right? So this is accredited by WASC. So WASC is something which has also, it's a government body which is accredited, again, Stanford, UCLA, UC Berkeley, San Jose, I think Harvard as well. So, and State Bar of California, right? So these are all accreditations which Golden Gate University have got. And we are really happy about it. And this is how the certificate looks like after this successful completion, right? And Mayank, so you have this certificate signed by Mayank, our co-founder and MD, and Dr. J. who is the professor of public administration at Golden Gate University, right? So, a quick glimpse of what we are. Upgrad is the South Asia's largest higher ed tech company. So what is our vision? To become your lifelong learning partner, right? So we don't want you to just end up with one program. We want you to be part of our whole education journey, where you could upskill, you could learn and grow within the company, grow within your career path, right? And our mission, every time you take up a program with us, you get desired outcomes. So that is our mission. We have we have learners who got placed at 2.2 CR as well. We have learners who got placed at 1 crore as well. So we have got the expertise of having 8 years into the industry, into the higher ed tech industry, and we are confident about it. You put in your efforts and we are confident to place you, or we are confident to provide all the upskilling features you require. So these are the successful outcomes till date, and this is the highest in India and Southeast Asia. We have recently posted an article. Mayank has posted an article with a 2 CR package, right? So this is one of our portfolio where you have put in your effort, and the rest you can leave it with us, and we are confident that we'll place you, right? And these are few success stories which we have seen recently, right? So Darshan was looking for upskilling, and he whatever he is looking for, he was able to clearly communicate with us, and we provided the desired outcome. Ved Prakash was a backend developer, and he was at a 15 lakh package, and within 3 months into the program with DSA, system design, etc. So we have covered data structures and algorithms in a primary way and an advanced way. So we have 2 modules which any other player doesn't do, right? Within covering the basics of DSA, he was able to get a package of 27 lakhs from 15 lakhs, right? Within 3 months time. And he was very happy about it, and he is still continuing, right? And Samiha, what happened was she actually reached out during the lockdown, and she wanted to change her career from a teacher lecturer to into a tech domain, right? So that's where we helped her to get her desired outcome. She has successfully got a job, but she's still continuing the program, and once she completes the program, that's when she is going to shift. Aishwarya, again, her husband actually referred to this program, and she's happy about the overall outcomes, because we cover everything from basics, and we provide all the time required for you to grasp the basics and build it from there, right? So that's how our success stories look like, and you could be the next success story for us, and we would love to see you on the screen, right? So these are few awards Upgrad have received, right? So just to give you some confidence of what we are the top startup in India for the 4th year in a row. This is awarded by LinkedIn, and Tech Circle has actually awarded us as the education company of the year. And we have from Economic Times, the CEO magazine, and there are many other awards to with which we are recognized with, right? So what we have on the board, so today's offer, we have a special discount of 20%. This is only for the learners who have joined our masterclass today. So if you are interested, I would suggest you to fill in the form shared by Rekha on the chat, and our academic counselor will reach out to you after the masterclass, and they will explain in detail of what we offer and how you can achieve your career goals in the tech domain. All right. Thank you. That's about it.
Thank you so much. As when you're talking about Ved Prakash, we have Ved Prakash in the meeting today,
Oh,
and
nice.
Ved Prakash would like to elaborate. I know Gautam have just given information that yes, what you were looking for, what you have got, but rather we explaining about it would like you to explain and share your experience with us.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, all.
It's okay, Ved Prakash, you can turn on your camera. We understand you are at home, so no problem with that.
Okay.
Thank
Is it now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I have completed full stack development boot camp on 2022, and I have started March on the month of March, and recently I have completed. It's been 2 months, I think, and after after completing this program, I can say like I have cracked like 4 or 5 interviews, and I have been placed in recently I have switched my company and joined a company, so with a better package. And yeah, talking about this full stack program, Java full stack development program. So here we yeah, the course curriculum, which is like data structure, Java and data structure, is really good. And mostly the Twitter, I want to mention Twitter name Biswa Mohan sir. So he, whatever he taught was really good. It really helped me a lot in interviews for cracking all these data structure questions. And yeah, so, and after that, like I haven't given for full stack, front end. Mostly my interviews were in Java, Spring Boot, and data structure. So I got a job as a backend developer. Still I want to learn. I have completed full stack as front end as well, JavaScript, Node.js, and all this, but I haven't worked on. But still, I'm looking to work on those things. Yeah, and and anything more you want to ask me, or you can go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Ved Prakash. I can understand that you have tried your best and getting
Yeah, I have few
selected
questions,
at
Rekha.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I
Sure. Even I was supposed to ask something, but yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, Ved Prakash, so how was the decision, decision taken to choose upgrade than other competitors? What was the trigger point where you said, okay, I'll go with upgrade and I'm confident that I will get my desired outcome?
Yeah, I remember like initially I have got a call. I don't remember the name, but I have got a call, and I have attended one program itself, some demo from Biswa sir only. So
Okay.
it's a data structure topic on stack. So
Okay.
the way he has covered that topics, I got to know like this is the exact thing I want to learn, and I want to enroll in this program. Yeah, so in that way I have decided.
Nice. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thanks, and you have trusted us, and you're able to hope the career. Can you please talk about the career support you have received from us? And also, I know that you have also tried outside of our career support because you are confident
Yeah.
enough and you are able to crack 4 or 5 interviews easily. But if you could just talk about the career support, that will be helpful.
Yeah, career support from the portal itself, the job portal itself, it is there. We can apply. But in my case, like I after completing data structure only, I tried to. I have applied outsides and I got few offers, and I was on notice period that time.
So you mean to
So
say you haven't attended the
I
entire
haven't
interview with
attended from upgrade itself. Yeah.
So you just started learning and you started giving interviews side by
Yes,
side.
that was my purpose actually. I mean, for changing my job only, I have joined. I wanted to learn data structure properly from the basics. So that is the main goal for me.
So when
I
you're saying
mean,
basics, was this basics covered well?
yeah, it was really good, and the questionnaire on the portal itself was also good, and the questions which has been covered. I mean, most of the questions I have faced, which has been covered in the class itself. So
Wow.
that was the best thing. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. We take interviews. So apart from, by the way, just for everyone, apart from hosting this, I take interviews to of trainers, tech
Okay.
trainers. To so I know what rigorous interview is. Even Tarun can explain before he boarding on the platform as a trainer. He has to go through lot of steps to explain that why we should choose him. So when we are telling you guys that yes, you will get the best services and best training from us, we ensure that when we are training, we are like recruiting these trainer for you guys, we are getting best for you. So definitely that means like all the conversation what you're telling us, it means this, yes, we are succeeding on our goals. And like whenever you get career support and jobs and promotions, salary hikes, that of course uh, raises the bar high and you feel yes, we are on the right path, we are changing lives. So thank you so much, Ved Prakash, thanks a lot. Guys from the audience, if anybody have any questions, anybody would like to understand how things works, or uh, anything about the program also, you can put it in a chat box. Ved Prakash will be with us for next 10 minutes. So you can put it in the Q&A or a chat box and we'll be happy to answer that. Thank you, Ved Prakash.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to ask Gautam to Ved Prakash?
No, I'm good.
Great. Okay, then thank you, Gautam, for joining us. Thank you, Ved Prakash. Let's wait for 10 minutes only, like not more. I won't take your more time. I know weekend you also have a life. So we'll have a Q&A and next 10 minutes, if you don't have a question or if you have a question, I'll please answer them and then you can take a leave. Also, if you want to continue understanding the payment gateway system, you can stay back with us and still learn with us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Tarun. I hope this was helpful, guys, because everybody here is looking for something, some reasons where people are here. Either somebody wants to start their career, either somebody is already into tech who just want to do the refresher. So definitely we are here from some other goal. So without delaying more, let's get back to our session. Over to you, Tarun. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay. Great. Okay. So yeah, and now let's start from where we left. Okay. So here we discussed about that most important aspect in system design is some calculations which we have to do about what would be the scale and how much data, how many servers would we be needing. Now, how to arrive at what kind of systems to use, how many such systems to use, and whether the design will be able to support the scale of the application. This is the method. You make some assumptions, and the assumptions should be realistic assumptions. I made few assumptions. So hope you are all agreeing with these numbers, right? Paytm has more than, it has roughly around 300 million plus users, and definitely in future it's going to grow. You have to think of not only just the current number, but also what would be some futuristic number also, because the applications may get more users. And then every user is making 10 transactions per month because you use lot of online platforms. For example, you do flight booking, you do hotel booking, you do grocery shopping also, you buy from restaurants, you use it in store, real store also. So that's why 10 transactions per month on average. But yes, if you can give some rough estimates, this can help you in deciding how many servers and what kind of data will be there and what kind of database will be used. So let's try to find out what database will be suitable for this particular application, because we, as I said, there are so many options. So now from the numbers, from these assumptions, I can say transactions per month will be 5 billion transactions per month, because there are 500 million users on average. They are doing 10 transactions per month. So on monthly basis, there are 5 billion transactions. See, such a big number. And then let's assume, yeah, we already assumed this, that for each of the transaction, we will be making 5 queries. Maybe again, some queries could be complex, some queries could be simple, but yes, there are 5 queries, and this comes up that we need a database which can handle, overall our system should be able to handle 25 billion queries per month, right? Now let's see how many queries per second. So 25 billion queries per month means, if we divide this by 30 days, 24 hours, 60 minutes, 60 seconds, which is now this number, it is coming to roughly around 8,000 queries per second, right? You don't have to do exact calculation. You have to do rough calculations, right? So that's why I've called this back of envelope calculation, because this is some estimation which you have to do, whether it is 8,000 queries or 8,300 queries, that does not matter much with respect to the system design, because what we are looking for is how we will be designing the system. So we need to get the idea of the scale of the system, and a system which can take care of 8,000 queries per second will also be able to take care around 8,500 queries per second, 7,500 queries per second. But if you are coming up with some number 8,000, and in reality, if it is 20,000 queries per second, then that's a big difference, right? So we need to try to get number which is close to, yeah, maybe plus 20, 25%, plus minus max. More accurate, the better. But yes, here we see that a system which is like Paytm will be able to take care of 8,000 queries per second. There's a lot of queries, but nowadays, no, the databases are also capable of taking multiple thousands of queries per second. Actually, you will have to now do some performance testing, load testing, to see whether with that table. So what next step in reality you can do is, you have the database design. I gave you rough database design. You can insert some dummy data and then run these many queries. You can do load test to really validate whether a particular database will be able to do this or not. But yes, understanding various databases which are available and also the server capabilities, this is something which can be taken care by relational database. And but yes, the important thing is not only you have to make these many queries. So this is your throughput which is required from the database. You also need to get as fast as possible with respect to the queries, because if these queries are taking longer, then the responsiveness of your application will not be good. So you need to get good performance as well. Now let's also assume that, yeah, we already said that each of the query is generating around 100 bytes, right? Or in all, with 5 queries, you are generating 0.5K bytes of data, because you are inserting new record about the transaction when you are making any transaction. So you are creating some records in the database, because the throughput is first thing. Another thing is data volume, which is also important consideration for figuring out what database to use. So now if I say 5 billion transactions per month I am getting, so in a month, I will be generating 5 billion into 0.5K bytes or 2.5K terabytes of data per month, right? So this is terabytes of data which you will be generating. And as per RBI guidelines, you will have to store for 5 years the data, right? So you can multiply it by 60 and you can get that this database will have a size of roughly around 150 terabytes, right? Because you will be storing a lot of transactions, some failed transaction for record purpose also, and also what all bank accounts were involved in that. And definitely, you will not be querying all the time in all 5 years of data. You will have to cache some data. This way you can save some queries. All these approaches we can think of. But from these calculations, since this is terabytes of data, this could be handled by relational databases. And also these many write queries are there. A single database server, I'll just give you some insight, should be able to handle up to 5,000 queries per second. A relational database, when I'm talking about, say, Postgres or MySQL or Oracle database, they can take up to 5,000 queries. Again, this number varies depending on the complexity of queries, complexity of the data, and also the server used. But in general, if you get some number around 5,000, that could be taken care by relational database. And definitely you can create multiple instances of servers also. So here, if I create 2 instances, that should be sufficient to deal with these many write queries per second. And with respect to data volume, 2.5 terabytes of data is not huge data, because nowadays hard disk on laptop is coming around 1 terabytes. So servers can have terabytes of storage. So data volume can also be taken care with the relational database. So let's take some inferences. What can we infer from these two data calculation or estimation? Are you all good with this kind of calculation? Because you should understand very thoroughly how I have estimated queries per second and the data value, because these are the two important things you have to understand to make a decision about what database to use. And this calculation, this technique, you can apply in design of any other system. If I say you design, say, Amazon e-commerce application, or if I say design YouTube, you should be able to find out using similar assumptions. Definitely the number of queries, the number of users, number of transactions will be different. But yes, you have to take some realistic assumptions and have to arrive with these two numbers. So any questions, let me know in the chat, or no, if no, then I will proceed to the inferences. Okay. So let's see what are the inferences which we can take. So here we see that no relational database we can use because the number of queries and volume is looking reasonable, and relational databases are good for handling transactions, and we can store data in the form of tables, and they can also support SQL queries which are easy to write, and there are ACID property which is also supported in relational database. So this is one good reason why I can go with relational database. But again, these concepts about what is transactions, what are relationships, ACID property, I can't cover them all in this section, but yes, in bootcamp these will be covered in detail. But you can just see that okay, the relational database is good for taking care of transactions. Again, no, to implement this particular application, you will need to know SQL as well, and you will need to understand the concept of transactions, what are checkpoints, how to roll back the transactions, etc. And you have to also learn few relational databases, which would be MySQL, Postgres. And then you would need some caching also, because performance is important here. We want to give good performance. So we can use, to increase the performance, we can use some in-memory database, because writing to hard disk is slower. Nowadays, you get solid state hard disk. I see one of you have commented that network attached systems could be used, or solid state drive could be used, right? Raghav Goel, he shared this insight that yes, solid state drive is faster than hard drive, but still it is slower than RAM. So if we use in-memory database, the speed could further be improved with respect to read and write operations. Better the speed, better our system is. And we can use this as a caching layer. So in-memory database could be used as a caching layer. NoSQL database also could be used, because you would also be generating some logs data. And we also said we will be using analytics. So NoSQL databases could be used for logs and analytics and for storing unstructured data, right? And they can handle large volumes of unstructured or semi-structured data. So this is some key differentiation. See, with this Paytm architecture, we are also able to cover what are different kinds of databases and what are some of the key characteristics of the databases. Okay. Awesome. So you don't have to worry about exact implementation detail, because this is a system design question. So we don't have to bias ourselves, say, I'll use AWS or I'll use this particular technology. As an architect, we should always be flexible. We should be able to recommend something, and we should also recommend in a technology agnostic manner. Because if I say, no, we use only Java, that's a bad thing, because depending on various requirements, or there are some corporate guidelines as well, maybe some technology may not be available. What if you are working in Google, then you won't be able to use AWS. Or if you are working in Microsoft, then maybe you will not be able to use Google Cloud there. In Facebook, right? You have to design systems using maybe Rust or Golang. So you have within an organization always some lack of flexibility, right? And in the team also, you will need many developers, tens and hundreds of developers to develop such applications. So you have to take care of what kind of tools and technology you know about, your team know about, your know-how and strengths of the organization. You have to design as per that, but your design should be conceptually correct, and it could be implemented using various technology. If I can give you a design which could be implemented in Python or Java or in JavaScript or C#, that is a good architecture, because then during low-level design, you can take into consideration additional factors and design it in a more optimal manner, which will be as per your strengths. So now let's move on to other calculation, which is more related to the server technologies, right? So here, again, we make some assumptions. We can use the same assumptions. We have around 500 million users. Let's say on average, a user is using Paytm 2 times a day, right? Because you keep logging into Paytm, even if you are not doing transactions, because Paytm, maybe you are just checking your balance, or maybe you are checking some coupons, offers, which you are getting, or maybe you want to see some money which you have received from someone else. So on average, assume you have a user visiting the Paytm platform 2 times. Nowadays, these platforms, they also offer online shopping, flight booking, games as well. So you do visit these applications multiple times. So I say 2 times a day, you will use the app. And every time you use, you call 5 APIs on average, right? Because maybe you will check your authorization, check your balance, whatever interactions you will do, multiple APIs will be called, because all the activity interactions will also be stored in the analytics server. It will be given to reporting purpose. It will also be tracked for fraud detection. So, you will have different kind of API calls. And then again, one data. Generally, it's okay that one server can handle 1,000 API calls per second, right? Again, it depends on what kind of API. Some API may require a lot of CPU intensive operations. So it's very hard to generalize these, but on rough estimate, you can always make some assumptions that this is one server. Usual average size of API calls. If average complexity API calls are there, then a server would be able to handle maybe 1,000 or 2,000 calls. But yes, it will be in thousands. If the number comes in tens of thousands, then that's then you need that many number of servers, right? Again, this is back of envelope calculation. We'll keep most of the things round off, right? So that it's easy to calculate and you can do it very quickly in the interview. Because what if you are taking 10-15 minutes to do to this, then that's not a right thing to do in the interview, because you have to do this very quickly in few minutes. So here we will calculate how many calls are being made per second, right? So we have 500 million users. Every user is doing 2 interactions. And for each interaction, we are calling 5 APIs. So total number of API call is 500 into 2 into 5 is in millions. It's coming to be 5,000 millions or 5 billion. Right? So 5 billion API calls per day. I'm talking about here per day. But per second, if I have to convert, that will be divided by 24 into 60 into 60, because we have 24 hours, 60 minutes, 60 seconds. That will come to 86,400. We can round it off to 100K, right? Because we are not very much interested in exact number. So it will be around 50,000 API calls per day, right? Or 50 to 53,000 API calls per day. But yes, to be having a realistic estimation is 50,000 API calls per second. We will put it like this, right? Now, we also said that we want high available system and fault tolerant system. We discussed that, okay, we have to take care of disaster recovery, etc. So you will replicate the data, backups you will have to take, and you have to keep additional servers also. Some servers will be needing for web server for hosting the web app pages. Some server will be used for application servers. Some servers may be using for communicating with the database. So you'll need for a single API, you will need multiple servers. And for example, maybe you need 3 servers per API, right? Because you have to layer your applications into multiple tiers, and 3-tier architecture is very common. You have presentation layer, you have the business logic layer, and the database layer, right? So if we see that, okay, how many servers we may need, 50,000 API calls, and then divided by 1,000 API calls per second is what can be handled by one server. So this comes to 50 into 3 or 150 servers is what you will need. So see, you will need a lot of servers to host this Paytm application, and this should be distributed servers. because you will be making calls to the APIs, right? But again, you can think that not all the use cases are equally important, but this is how rough estimation I will do to figure out how many servers and what databases and how many database servers I'll need. Right? Hope you have understood all this calculation, this basic mathematics, maybe class 5 mathematics. But this is very important. If you do this, you will create a very good impression to the interviewer. And if you don't do this, then you will get a negative feedback saying that maybe you have not made data-driven decision making, or no, your decisions are not correctly justified. You will use relational database, but you have not validated it, whether no, realistically you will be able to use it in the use case. Because once you set up the systems, setting up the infrastructure will require a lot of effort. And then after that, you realize that, yeah, this load cannot be taken care by my systems. Then you lose a lot of money and time and effort, and which is bad. And that will lead to bad architectural decisions. But this way I can validate, and without putting any money, just within few minutes, I'll be able to make decisions, and I'll be able to validate whether my architecture is able to support this load or not, right? So this is a very good thing to do in the system design interview. So another thing, yes, which we need here, inferences, since you need so many servers, you will need load balancing as well, because load balancer is a hardware component which can distribute the load to multiple servers. And you will also need API gateway, because all these APIs, you have to ensure there are so many API calls, and you have to ensure all these APIs are secure, right? So you will need an API gateway which can take care of authentication, authorization, and it can take care of rate limiting, because you may get some denial of service attacks as well. You may have to make a log of all these APIs for troubleshooting purposes. So API gateways are servers which can offer many functionality, which are common to many of the infrastructures or APIs. Say, for example, rate limiting, caching, and some sort of load balancing can also be done by API gateway. But I recommend here using a load balancer also, and you will need multiple API gateways, and API gateway will provide a front door to all the APIs in your application, because you will have hundreds of applications. That's right. So let me describe you in detail. What is API gateway? API gateway is used to create scalable, secure, and reliable APIs, right? And before that, maybe I assume you all know about API. API is application programming interface, and it defines how two software components will talk to each other, right? So it's nothing, it's a programming interface. You may have REST APIs, you may have different kinds of APIs using different protocols also. For example, you may have WebSocket APIs, and all these could be taken care with the help of an API gateway. Again, getting into depth of these is not possible within this session. Thoroughly, they are covered in courses, and that is, you need to know implementation details if you want to implement real systems like Paytm. Right. So as I said, API gateway is a front door for applications backend services. It provides features such as authentication, rate limiting, caching, monitoring, etc., and many more. So let's now look into the architecture, right? So we know what will be roughly the architecture, because we know that we will have clients, we will have API gateway, we'll have some services which will be doing authentication, authorization. We have services for encryption, we have services for fraud detection, all that we have talked about. We can put it into some architecture diagram, something like this. So this is the architecture of Paytm. This is the first cut version. Because here I have just put down these components. I have a database. I have right here, you would see that there is a customer. Customer is using various mobile clients, which could be Android, iOS, browser-based web application, right? And then you have an API gateway. API gateway have various services, which is being called maybe services related to financial transactions, which could be credit and debit. And then services like check balances or get the account details of particular person or validate account details. Some validation could also happen. All these non-financial services will also be there. And then maybe some transactions like, you authorize money to be debited for SIP or for some installment, loan transaction, etc. So a lot of things are there nowadays, right? In Paytm, you can apply to some stocks and all, and you may buy it in future date. So you just have to reserve some money. So there are different kinds of APIs which will be required for it. So you can have multiple components. I have written here ... because if I keep listing all these, there will be 15, 20 or more such servers. And again, drawing all of them is not advisable in the interview, because also the idea is to give your understanding of the system design, not to worry about the completeness, worry about right conceptual architecture, right? So then all these services will be talking to bank interfaces, and these bank interfaces will be doing the transactions in the online applications of the banks, so that you'll have links to HDFC Bank, SBI Bank, Axis Bank. There will be different kind of APIs which will be exposed by these banks. So this is about the server side layer, and definitely you will be storing and retrieving data from database, right? So this is overall architecture, but still it is not complete architecture, because there are few things missing, right? Because how can I ensure this application is disaster proof, right? If I install these components and in one data center, definitely, if some power failure happens, right? Maybe some power breakdown, and then you may have some backup power, but if it is for a long time, then the backup may not be able to sustain it, right? Or if there is some hardware failure, then you may lose the data. So from reliability, we have to take care that how can we ensure this architecture is reliable? How can we ensure the performance is good? And what can we do to ensure that when there are communications between these microservices, they are also happening effectively, right? Because I shared that if many calls are coming, then it may happen that you may lose some of the transactions because your server is busy dealing with other transactions. So concurrency also you have to take care. So you have to take care of all the functional requirement and non-functional requirement. So this architecture is good from functional aspect, because any use case you say, I can tell how this can be achieved. Like if you say, how can I check balance? You say you click on client, check balance option, and then internally there will be an API call, which will go to some non-financial service. And if your account is say in HDFC, then HDFC bank account check balance interface will help you get the details from HDFC bank. Something like that is the data flow. And this all information is returned back to the user in the mobile app. And this information is also encrypted, and you are authenticated to ensure that you are checking the balance of your account only. right? And fraud detection, everything is taken care here. So this diagram is good functionally, but non-functionally, you need to do a lot more. So coming with functional architecture is not a big challenge. Maybe 5-year experienced person will be able to design such thing. But for coming up with good non-functional architecture, you need a lot of skill. And this is what is important in cracking any Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon interview, because person who can do how to deal with non-functional requirement will only be able to build up architectures which can be used to run large scale applications. So let's see how we can optimize this architecture first. But again, as I said, approach is very important, and you have to show your approach, and incremental manner of thinking is the best approach, because you have to build some base architecture and then you have to optimize, refine it, and identify bottlenecks, and you have to deal with these. So let's talk about what was missing. First thing is load balancing, right? Load balancing is missing here because API gateway is there which can do some load balancing, but still you will need better load balancing. So load balancing, again, there are multiple approaches in load balancing. You have round robin load balancing. You have most of the time servers which are purchased in different times, right? So some servers are more capable, some servers are less capable. Maybe some servers have 8 GB RAM, some has 16 GB, some may have 32 GB, because some servers you might have purchased earlier and you will be using all of them. So round robin approach may not be always optimal, because if you are distributing load all the time uniformly, then you may be loading some server more, and because if server is less capable, he'll get overloaded. And if server is more capable, it may get under loaded. So you use weighted round robin based on what is the system capability. You can assign weights and then distribute load to the servers, right? Keep interacting, because just say yes or no if you are understanding, and if you are getting stuck facing issues in understanding, do let me know, I can clarify it. But ensure that at the end of the session, you go with your all doubts clear. And if such question comes in the interview, real interview, you should be able to crack it. Right. Now, other approaches is least connection, or wherever you have less load, you distribute the new connections to that particular server. So these are different kinds of load balancing approaches which you should use. And then there is another approach, which is IP hashing approach, right? IP hashing is you take what is the client's IP address and then hash it. And then based on the hash which you generate, you assign the request to that particular server. So these are various load balancing techniques, right? Because load balancing is nothing, it's just distributing load across multiple CPUs. And this could be achieved using hardware load balancers or using software load balancers, right? So these are various techniques. Now I'll ask you one question. What is the limitation of IP hashing? Assume most of the users are nowadays using mobile, right? And if you are switching networks, your IP address changes, right? So if you are maybe moving from one network zone, say, for example, in the morning you are in office, then in the evening you are at home, sometimes you are in mobile network, so you may be having lot of IP addresses also, right? So same client may be connecting to multiple IP addresses also. So if you want to do hashing based on users session, right? So that you can kind of reuse some of the data, then you can better use IP hash instead of IP hashing, mobile number hashing, right? So that's another approach which you can use. Rather than the IP address, use mobile address of the user to hash and assign the assign the server in the load balancing, right? Or you can do MAC address load balancing. So these are other approaches which you can also use in load balancing. And all these advanced load balancing algorithms will be there in the hardware load balancers, and hardware load balancer will be performing much better than software load balancer. So here the recommended approach should be hardware load balancer, because you need high performance, right? Even after using load balancers, you can still optimize the performance by using sticky sessions, right? Anyone knows what is sticky sessions? Pay attention to all these concepts. These are very important concepts. And if you mention these concepts in the interview, you will create really good impression, because you should be aware of all these concepts. These are concepts which are required to understand distributed architecture, right? So what is the sticky sessions? Sticky sessions are also known as session affinity, right? This is a load balancing technique in which when a client is connecting to a web server, to a server, for one session, subsequent requests are also assigned to the same server. So the advantage of this approach is you will have the data cached in the server, and you do not have to make a lot of requests, right? So here I'll give an example. Assume I, as a Paytm user, mostly go to my nearby shops to purchase various items like grocery, right? I may not be going to some shop in, say, US to buy grocery. Mostly I will be purchasing from some sites, some shops which are close to my location, right? Or I may also have some few online sites. I may not be ordering from Walmart, but maybe I'm ordering from Amazon, and then Amazon India, definitely not from Amazon UK or some other remote site. So if these information are cached in my server, with whom I make frequent transaction, the response time could be fast, because these details could be cached in the server. And if same server is used, then it can recall, yeah, the Tarun has shopped from some store which is called XYZ, and earlier I have fetched the account detail, etc. And I know these details, and I can quickly reuse this because I have it in cache, and the transaction could be processed very fast. So that's the advantage of sticky sessions. But yes, there are many advantages and disadvantages. So one advantage is, as I said, it can improve performance, right? Because it avoids retrieving session state information. And there are drawbacks also. Drawbacks are, it can result in uneven workload distribution, right? So I'm always getting reassigned to the same server. And if that happens, then it may happen that some servers will get more workload. And reduced availability. What if the server crashes, which I have used for making the call previously, and then another server needs to be set up, and the session information has to be fetched from the different server, right? So this makes application slightly less available, and it may also happen because of uneven load distribution also, right? So the servers are maybe more, there may be slightly more chances of unavailability, and you have to preserve the lost sessions in some other server. So this adds to complexity also. So these are the drawbacks of sticky session, because when you are using any approach, you should know this very thoroughly, that what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of a particular approach, right? You have to put this to the interviewer. But architecture is all about making trade-offs, because there will always be trade-offs. Like you have noticed that if you use more memory, you can improve performance, right? If you use less memory, then performance, time is, so you have time space trade-off always. And similarly in architecture also, when you take something, if you design for, say, performance, then you have to do some compromise, right? So CAP theorem is another interesting approach you should all know about. CAP theorem is all about consistency, about availability and performance. You can't achieve so consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. P is for not performance, it's partition tolerance. And you can't achieve all of them together. You have to always make some compromises. And what is the right compromise will come from experience, and understanding of non-functional requirement is very important in order to make right decisions. So now let's see what's the new architecture. You have the now load balancer in place, which can be used to route your request to API gateways, right? So you can share this, that, okay, you need load balancers. Now, another important thing which you should take care is, we have taken care of how to distribute traffic in the server side, but we also have to take care of how to improve performance in the database. This is also very important, because this we have not, maybe you are making the calls to the server efficiently, but the servers, when they are calling database queries, that can become the bottleneck. So pay attention, and based on each and every connection, you have to optimize the performance at each and every connection, and what you can do to ensure high performance in this. So what we can do is, we can create multiple server instances, we can partition the data, and we can replicate also, so that one database is not overloaded. This is like load balancing in the database. But yes, this is called master slave and multi-master architecture, right? So you should understand that in master slave architecture, you have one master, all the writes come to one master, and all the reads come to slave databases. This way you can optimize the database reads and writes, right? And in multi-master, you have multiple master databases. Again, since you have multiple master database, you can write faster, right? Because you can load, you can distribute the load between multiple masters, and you also have multiple slaves also. In multi-master database, you also have multiple slaves. So your reads are also distributed. And but there is, again, as I said, always a trade-off. If you have multiple masters, you have to ensure that all the masters are in sync, and syncing database instances will take time. So you should understand this. Now, next thing which I'm covering is, what is the advantages of database replications? Advantage is high availability. Since you have multiple databases, if one database fails, you have the data preserved. You can also have replications which are across data centers. this way, if there is a flood or power failure or some emergency like earthquake in one area, right, still your business is not lost, right? So this is how you should design your application. So replication will take care of availability and reliability. It will also take care of performance. And you can also achieve geographic redundancy. You keep one data center in some other locations, geographically distributed location, because at the same time, cyclone will not come in India, Europe, US, or if some missile has to be stuck in some location, you have better chances that if your data is distributed in different locations, it can be preserved, right? Or if earthquake is there, is all the disasters are generally regional. They will be only specific to one geography. So this way you can ensure reliability of your data. And caching is also very important. You can cache the data in some temporary storage, and you can apply different kinds of caching also. What are the different kinds of caching? So yes, definitely, based on where the data is cached, you can have different kinds of caching. You can have caching in the device level. For example, if you're using mobile apps may use cache in mobile. Or if you're using browsers, web application, you can have caching in the browser. You can have server-side caching. I also shared that sticky session is a good approach to take care of server-side caching. And then you can have distributed caching. Distributed caching is storing data in various caches across the different servers nodes, right? And what you can cache is the data from the database. You can cache so that it could be utilized by multiple servers. So this is most effective technique. Distributed caching is most effective technique. Definitely you will have to cache in various locations, right? Cookies are not cache. So I again see a question from Raghav. Cookies are used for storing some information, which is a small piece of information. And but yes, still they can be helpful in knowing whether the user has visited the site previously or not. So it can also improve performance because you don't have to validate, re-authenticate. You can have the session token in the cookie. So you need not have to re-authenticate. So in that perspective, it can help you in performance. Yes, so you are right. Cookies can help in making your applications perform better performing, right? But you have to cache a lot of information. For data intensive application, cookie may not be useful, because if you have to store MBs of data, then cookie may not be the ideal place to store the data. It can only store a small amount of data. So client-side caching or browser caching can store more data. It can store the data about entire website. Now, benefits of caching: performance, reduced load, because you don't need to call the database again and again. So number of queries per second can also be reduced, right? Also understand Paytm is both read heavy and write heavy system, right? So one point which I missed mentioning was we'll be using multi-master database, because here we have to optimize the database both for reads and writes. Because why Paytm is write intensive? Because it is writing a lot of transaction information. Whenever you are having any transaction or money transfer in the database, some balance amount has to be increased, some balance amount have to be reduced. You have to add more lines for transaction, add details like when was that transaction done, when was the transaction completed, and you have to update a lot of things in the database. And at the same time, you have to read also a lot of data, whether the account balance is sufficient, what is the account number, all these things. So it's read heavy and write heavy also, right? But caching can only improve performance in read heavy. Writing, it cannot improve performance, because when you have to write something new. And that new thing definitely will not be available in the cache. So caching does not help in write heavy, but master architecture can help you in improving the performance of writes, right? To some extent, because indexing, dealing with write heavy systems are more complicated. I'll share the strategy to deal with, because when you are doing indexing, your write will become slower. When you are doing caching, your write will become slower, because you have to update the database as well as cache as well, so that you can read it fast later. So your write heavy system, designing write heavy system is very complicated, but I'll give you the solution in few minutes. So yes, keep paying attention and keep clarifying all your doubts, right? So if you have caching, you improve scalability also, because your load is now distributed between cache and the database servers. So database calls are reduced, and that's why scalability is also improved. Again, you can have different kind of caching strategies. One is time-based caching, right? So you can say that I want to cache all the transactions, information pertaining to all the transactions which have been done in last week, right? If something is used recently, this is more likely that it will be reused again, right? Something has been used long back, there is less likelihood that it will be used. So time-based caching is good strategy. Another strategy is event-based caching, right? Say, for example, you can say, I would like to cache 20% of data. When 20% of data is cached, you will raise an event. Or another one could be based on some specific update, right? I will have a cache which will be cached for 1 week. I will mention that this is expiry time for this particular data. Sometimes it's useful. Say, for example, if there is an offer going on and the offer is for, this is Navratri offer or some offer which is, time-bound offer, then more transactions are expected in that particular expiry time, before that particular time. So these, there could be even logical business related events also. Like if I'm expecting sales of this much revenue, I can have some event when this particular revenue is achieved, that event could be triggered. And lazy loading, another approach, which means you cache only after some data is requested, right? So you don't cache anything, but as you are making some request, you keep loading the cache with the data which has been requested earlier. And then definitely cache eviction is also required. You can evict when your cache is full, because cache is faster, and we discussed RAM will be used for caching, in-memory database will be used for caching, but memory is more expensive, RAM is more expensive than SSD or hard disk. So you will use lesser memory. So you have to have a eviction policy also. You have to mention all these in the interview, because without this, interviewer will assume that you don't have understanding of all these concepts, and you may not be able to design this system and in a manner which can take care of all these complexities. So you have to mention all these key concepts and you have to also justify them. So here I will be adding cache and replicas. You see here multiple databases, and these connections ensure that the data is in sync. And this replication should also happen asynchronously, and it should be based on delta copies, right? Some event it should replicate. Whenever new transactions are happening, it should get updated, and that delta should only be copied, not the entire table or entire database has to be copied. So your replicas take care of balancing the load. Now you can reach out to all the replicas as well as to the main database. And since this is multi-master, there's nothing called main database. I'd say there are multiple main databases, right? And cache is also there. So your performance of the database is taken care, right? Now, but another important thing is what you will do if there is performance issues in communicating between these services, because these services also has to talk to each other. For example, when you are making any deposit or debit or credit, you have to check the balance and update the balance also. So read is also required, and maybe you have to call internally some other services also. So now we have taken care of performance between the client and servers by load balancers and API gateways. API gateways will also be helpful if some external clients are used for fraud detection, etc., authentication, encryption, etc. So here performance is taken care well. With the database also, it's taken care to some extent. I'll share what is the problem. There is still a problem. That means if there are too many writes, replication may become slow, right? And caching may not give you the desired result. Because what if you are making new payments all the time to new merchants, then the caching cannot help you much. But yes, here we are totally not designing any strategy to deal with intercommunication, because we have billions of transactions happening every month, thousands or millions of transactions happening every day. So these servers will be heavily loaded, and when they want to communicate with each other, they'll not be able to deal with that load. System will keep crashing, and then the overall system will not be performing well. So this design also needs some more improvement, right? So what is that? How can I improve performance between two components, right? One approach is message queue. So you need to use a message queue. Message queue is a software like Apache Kafka, RabbitMQ, and these are some examples, right? For your reference, you can apply any of them. And this manages the communication between different components. And if one system crashes, then your transaction can store some information in the queue. And once the system come back, it can pick it up back from the queue. So that's why this helps. So message queues are important for achieving high scalability, because with asynchronous communication, your components don't have to wait. It makes your application more reliable and fault tolerant. Because if, say, you have to perform a transaction, and assume when you are checking the balance, the service which is responsible for checking the balance has crashed. Now your entire transaction will fail. But if you have message queue, you will have message processors and message consumers, and there will be multiple instances of this. And some other server can pick it up, right? So you may have more number of servers, and then it can be marked and updated in the message so that the same message do not get reprocessed. And if all the servers fail, then also the message will be persisted. It is available. And once the system comes back again, the server can pick up the message, right? So this way you make your application more reliable and fault tolerant, right? So you don't communicate individually between the services, you communicate to the message queue, and message producer will produce the message, put it in the queue, and message consumers will consume from the message queue. So you also kind of take care of reducing a lot of complexity from the system. So message queue also help in achieving loose coupling, right? This is in architectural terminology is called loose coupling, and use these buzzwords in the interview. This shows your maturity as an architect. And then we talk about performance, right? So it could increase the performance because you can have multiple instances of each of these services, and all the services may be just watching the message queue, and they will be marking what messages they have processed. So this way you can ensure that you have multiple components in each of the services and multiple servers running all these services, right? This is also known as event-driven architecture. Right, because now communication is happening based on event, and these events could be when you initiate the payment, there could be a payment initiation message or payment initiation event. And this event will contain a message which have the details about what is the amount, what is the transaction ID, what are the parties who are involved in the transaction, what is the payment method also. And then the payment processor can pick it up. It has all the details in the message, and it can process that particular message. And it can raise another event called payment processing, right? Which shows that the payment is being processed and has been sent to maybe, whatever is the server responsible for making the payment in banks. And once the transaction is completed, you may have another event, which is payment completed, right? So these are various events, and you have various servers which will be looking into these events in the message queue and responding and behaving as required, based on the message content. So this is called event-driven architecture. This is another important way which is used in microservices, but yeah, you may also use it in multiple different scenarios, but this is very commonly used in microservices architecture. And we have used microservices architecture because we have divided our entire system into multiple services. So which is nothing but multiple microservices. Right? So this is about event-driven architecture. So see, I have covered these concepts. Now, these examples of events I have given already. I'll move and I'll show you what is now a decent architecture, right? So here, message queue is there. This will take care of no performance bottlenecks here, right? Now, banks, all this link we can't worry about because this is outside our control, right? So infrastructure of HDFC Bank, SBI, Axis, I don't have any control of. We are architecting Paytm. We are the architects of Paytm. So this will make sure our system is high performing, our system is reliable, our system is scalable to millions of users. 500 million user can do the transactions concurrently. Concurrency is also taken care because messages are stored in message queue. So all our non-functional requirements are also taken care. And also all our functional requirements are also taken care. Yeah. So are you convinced that this is a good architecture and takes care of all the functional and non-functional requirements? Your work as a software architect is not that easy, right? There are more challenges also. Definitely. In this architecture, still there are something which may not work, right? One bottleneck I still see is you will have millions and billions of transactions happening, right? So you are making the query, everything is, it cannot be retrieved from cache. Yeah, you have to do write operations also. So yeah, caching helps you in reading. What if the write takes too much time? You have done indexing, but after so many insertions and deletions in this index may not also be working properly. And when you have to replicate data, you may have to deal with a lot of data replications. Yes. And more instances of replicas you will be adding, more replications you may have to do. So still it may happen that your database becomes a bottleneck. Right? So now I will give you another architecture, and definitely we'll consider using some database technology. I'll also give some concrete database technologies which we can use to ensure this problem is resolved. Right? But yeah, if you give this answer also, this is a decent answer and this will get you good feedback from the interviewer. You will get definitely hired feedback if you come up to this architecture. But what I will now tell you, what you should do in order to get a strong higher feedback from the interviewer, right? If you give this, definitely no, you will be hired because you have taken care of each and every non-functional and functional requirement, but still it's not best in class architecture. I'll share you what would be best in class architecture. Earlier architectures, if you give, which I shared, the feedback may be lean higher or not that great, right? But yeah, it will not be very negative because your approach was really good. But yeah, this is definitely higher. And now let me take you what you need to do in order to get strong higher rating from the interviewer, or what would be the best architecture. So this is in-memory database, right? We covered this about what is in-memory database, and what it takes care of is faster read and write. If you are doing writing also in-memory database, your performance of the database will be much better, right? So this is one way of increasing your performance, right? So we will use this, and it will also make it highly scalable because in-memory databases can also be used in clusters. You can create lot of instances of in-memory database. That means you may have multiple servers where your data is replicated. So these are the benefits of in-memory database. This way you can achieve scalability. But the problem is, if you have very large amount of data, as I said, RAM is more expensive than hard disk. You would not like to store a lot of data in-memory database, but still you will only need recent 1 quarter, 1 month data most of the time. right? You don't do such queries like what was my balance 2 years back. Not that important. What is my sales this quarter is good. Yeah, that is important. What was my sales? No, maybe 5 years back, that's less likely a query. But yeah, maybe I want to see what's my growth every quarter, year on year as a merchant. So you need analytics system, right? So that is another use case we covered. Analytics and reporting is another use case, but there is another drawback of in-memory database is that in case of power failure, your data may get lost because RAM is RAM. If you switch off your server, data in the RAM is erased. It's not permanently stored. How to deal with it? Maybe you have to store this frequently or on regular basis to a permanent storage. Or maybe you have to keep multiple instances of these servers so that if one server fails, if power failure or system crash happens on one server, you have other copies of the data in other servers. So these are the two approaches which you can do. And better approach is you keep cluster of these servers where you store the information. So now finally, the architecture could be something like this, which is taking care of both. There is a customer, you have load balancer, I highlighted it. Then you have various servers, right? Financial servers, non-financial servers. And rather than directly writing to the database, you write to the in-memory database. This is also kind of serving as a cache. And at the same time, you write to the message queue. So message queue is also helping you to store some information. And you don't write to the database directly. You write to the database periodically, because if every second someone is making some transaction in HDFC Bank, the HDFC Bank's database server will get overwhelmed because every 1 second, thousands of users are making transaction, right? Or SBI Bank or some other bank. So, or in our case, Paytm, right? Our database also will get overwhelmed. So rather than writing, you can always write them offline to the DB processors. But yeah, you are reading and writing from in-memory database. So even if you are writing slowly, that does not impact the performance of your customer because you are writing in the background to the database. And everything is also preserved in in-memory database. So this way, you can ensure very fast performance, and also you will be able to distribute the load across multiple systems. Even you can have reporting systems, and with the help of message queue, DB processors, you will use NoSQL database rather than relational database, because here Cassandra could be used because this is good in dealing with the replications. So Cassandra is a good database for running high volume of data and organizing high volume of data and running fast read and write operations, because it also takes care of replication. And there is consensus algorithm, which is also implemented here. Again, all these are advanced concepts of distributed system. I won't be able to explain them all, but this is just for your knowledge. But yes, this is a good starting point to start your project, right? If you are thinking of doing kind of some mock project, which you want to showcase, you can build some components for Paytm or for your implementation of payment gateway and host it on some cloud, right? And you can use this architecture as the reference architecture. So this is what we have for the final architecture. If you give this architecture, yeah, you can use here Cassandra, and there are some other options also, HBase. These are NoSQL databases. So you don't have to exactly say this, but yes, you can say just NoSQL database and some database which can replicate to its cluster very fast and use some consensus algorithm to figure out which is the most recent copy of the data and use that for any processing, right? And this is an event-driven architecture. It's also microservices-based architecture, and it takes care of fast read and write. So this is a read-heavy and write-heavy system, and will be able to meet all our functional and non-functional requirements. Is this clear? Any questions? Because this is what I had for today. Now I am open for Q&A session.
Hi, Tarun. Thank you so much. Guys, if you have any questions, please put it in Q&A or a chat box. Sorry, Ishwar will not be sharing the PPT with you. But as we know, we have a quiz questions coming up. So I hope everybody is here. I would like to understand what they think about today's session. Wow. Nice. Guys would like to answer for this question, then we'll be going for the quiz. Okay. Superb. So in that case, let's go ahead and start our quiz. Tarun, meanwhile, people are putting the Q&As. We'll start the quiz. Okay.
Yes, right.
Thank you. So what you have to do is, guys, I'm sharing my screen. You have to follow this. You have to go to menti.com and use this code. Yeah, what you have to do is, guys, you have to go to your mobile, type www.menti.com. Once you type that, it will ask you to enter 6-digit code. The code which I have, 8-digit code, sorry. So that is there in the chat box, as well as you can see my screen. On the screen, it says 69372903. This is the code what you have to enter. Once you enter, you just, first question, just to make you like hands-on with this software. One thing that comes to mind about today's session. Okay. Just give me a Okay, so here we go. Now we can see there are people joining. Let's wait for more people to join. Guys, www.menti.com and you have to enter the code. So once you're done with this, once you're done adding the code, what you have to do is you have to answer that what you felt about today's masterclass. Okay. Remember, guys, few things to remember when you are applying for the like when you're going on the website and joining the session on menti.com. What you have to do is you have to ensure whoever wins the quiz, at the end there will be a screenshot. Your screen will be saying that you're the first winner, you're the second winner. So top 3 winners will be getting prizes. In that case, what you have to do is you have to take that screenshot. When it says first, second, third, you have to take the screenshot. Once the screenshot is taken, you have to share this information with us on www. I'm sorry. You have to share the information with us on masterclasshelp.com with your name, contact number, residential address, screenshot of your ranking, and your like ID proof, along with the experience what you had in the masterclass and the excitement definitely to receive the prize. So would like to look forward to get that information from you, and all the best for everyone. All the best to everyone, guys. Let's start. I hope everybody's ready. Can I see thumbs up? Yes, in the chat box. Wow, I can see some thumbs are coming up. Okay, then that case, let's go up ahead. Guys, one more thing to remember. We are not using pseudonames. Please use your original name. Everyone, 10 seconds to go. I know it's exciting. 2, 1. Okay. Superb. We have got 9 correct answer, guys. You need to buck up. I know you have attended the class very well. So let's see the result. I expected that. That's the reason I was telling, don't use your pseudonames. Please use your original name. Okay. So I know before going ahead, everybody needs time to change and update their name. So let's take few seconds to change and update their name. Okay. Can we go ahead? Everybody's ready? Yes, no, maybe, guys. Okay, I got a thumbs up. Yes, thank you. Here you go. Next question coming right up. Answer is on your screen. 2, 1. Okay. Wow, timer is on, guys. Let's go ahead. Superb. Great, first answer is right. Let's check who got right answers for this. My God, I have Bill, I have Bell. Guys, let's make this excited. We are going exciting. Let's go ahead faster. Give me a minute. Here you go. Third question coming right up. Okay. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Superb. Let's see who is on the ranks right now. Still, I'm getting Bill and Bell. Wow. You'll get an option to update your name at the end again. So please ensure you do that. Okay. Fourth question. Which of the following is okay? I can see people are answering fast. I know, guys, everybody has not joined the quiz, but I know you guys are missing on the exciting prizes. Here you go. Okay. Superb. Last question coming on way. So it's fourth place right now. Let's go ahead and next. I am clicking. Give me a second. It's telling how many people are ready. Now, if you see on your screen, you will have an option to change your name. Please update your name. Okay. I can see so many people are answering fast. Superb. Correct answer. Wow. Okay. This is the final leaderboard, guys. Superb. So Nanda, Bill, and Surekha. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations winning this quiz, definitely. That means you have attended the session well, and we have our winners with us. So as I discussed with you earlier, what you have to do is you have to share your details on masterclasshelp@upgrad.com. I am just right away putting that email ID in the chat box. Please share your information with us for sending gifts. Tarun, meanwhile, over to you if you if you'd like to address them about something.
Yeah, yes, sure.
Thank you.
Great, great. So yes, awesome performance in the quiz. And yes, let me now take up few questions which I see in the chat box and in the Q&A. So now, I saw that, okay, someone was asking about what should be the technology to use, Python, Java, Kotlin. See here, in this 3-hour session, we can't cover coding. But yes, definitely, if you want to highlight your skills as a software engineer, senior software engineer, or an architect, you should take it as a side project. And you have to learn these technologies. The architecture and concepts which we covered could be implemented in any of these languages. It could be Python, Java, or Kotlin. And You can use various databases. I have proposed some databases which we can use, for example, Redis and Cassandra, or no, you can try out with other databases as well. It's up to your interest, because there is no 100% right, 100% wrong answer in system design. So yes, feel free to play around. Now you understand what are the complexity involved in designing this system. So you are now ready to take it as a project, side project, if you are more interested in gaining experience, hands-on experience in building these application. But to answer the interview question, if you apply in Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, you don't have to code any component of this particular system. And whatever I have taught in this session is good enough to clear system design interview. And if you give the final architecture, you will definitely get good ratings in the interview also by the interviewer. Also, you should understand that system design interview, a technical interview, is not just about your technical knowledge. It's also about your convincing skill and your communication skill. So the approach which we took, we started with clarifying the question, understanding the problem well. Then we noted down the functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Then we did some back of envelope calculations, right? We figured out how many database servers we will need, how many application servers or servers we will need, and how we will be able to take care of the load. We took some assumptions. This is very important thing. You should definitely do this in the interview. If you are asked this question, like design a payment gateway, or design a Paytm application, or design a GPay, or design phone pay, all these systems could be architected in the same way. And then you start sharing about your inferences from the back of envelope calculation, and start breaking down into various components, and also share about what are the trade-offs between each component, what are the benefits and disadvantages, right? And this way, when you will approach and share your architecture, you will be able to convince the interviewer. And if the interviewer is convinced, and you have taken care of each and every non-functional and functional requirement, then definitely you will get very strong, higher rating, right? Yes, I also understand that system design is an evolving topic. Few years back, microservices architecture was not that common. Now, new things are coming up, like machine learning and analytics and reporting is there. So you have to not only be prepared with this question, you have to also be prepared with many such similar questions. And maybe for next 6 months or 1 year, these kind of architecture is good enough, but in future there could be good best practices which may be coming up. So yeah, I would say that maybe for next 2-3 years these things would be good enough, but you never know. New technologies do come up, and you have to always keep yourself up to date, right? So always keep reading, keep learning about new things, and also try practicing things hands-on, in a hands-on manner. And this will keep you always on the top, and you will be able to clear and secure good positions in big tech companies. So this is what my advice is, to kind of excel your career. And not only, if you are looking for good job, you can learn all these things, but these principles and concepts are also helpful if you are also looking to excel in your current job. Because if you are a good system designer, you can also execute the projects which are assigned to you in a very effective manner. So yeah, Software bootcamp we have in Upgrade that can help you. As you know, we discussed that there is a good curriculum designed by instructors, and at the same time you have labs, cloud labs, so you don't have to spend too much of time in setting up systems. You get all the required guidance as well as support material as well as platform where you can build some side projects and upskill and also highlight all these into your resume. So this is some advices on from my side that how you should excel, keep focusing on upskilling your technical knowledge, and also take care of your soft skills, your communication skills, your team working skills, because during the interview, when I'm discussing, interacting, I'm trying to demonstrate that I am not only just speaking unidirectional, because an architect should also be able to listen. He should be able to connect with each and every person. And in an interview, it is very important you also get connected to the interviewer and treat him like a team member and work with him collaboratively. Because if he finds you collaborative, open for feedback, and ready to learn, then definitely he will give you positive feedback on these aspects as well, which is also evaluated in interviews. And the way if I was presenting, you present your architecture and design, then definitely you'll be ready for success in big tech companies. Even I have mentored and helped people up to director level get good positions in Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and various other big tech companies. And I myself have prepared and gone through this process in the past as well. Sure. So if any person do not have any additional question, they can kind of feel free to leave, or if you have additional question, I can also take care of that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Tarun sir. Like, I know you have great experience, and with your experience, like overall, not only India and across the world, of course, the globe. So we got to know a lot of things today. Definitely the front end is everybody deals with, but the back end is really important. Otherwise, you will not have that UI experience. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks a lot for answering these questions. Thank you for giving them the direction that how and where they can approach to get into top product companies. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Gautam, for joining today.
Yeah,
Have a
thank
good
you.
weekend, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you all the participants. I enjoyed presenting to you. Thanks for interacting. And thank you, Rekha and Gautam, for the help and advice. Perfect.
Thanks, Tarun. Thanks,
Thank
Rick.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day. I'll end the masterclass. Thanks a lot.